Welcome to the Smart Dating Academy podcast. I'm Bela Gandhi, the founder of Smart Dating Academy and your host. I started Smart Dating Academy in 2009 because I had this crazy knack of giving people dating advice that actually worked, that I took. I've been married for almost 25 years, and now my company helps people to date smarter and to find love. This podcast is meant to bring more love into your life, no matter where you are and what you do. And we're here to bring more life into your love. Today, I am so excited about our guest. She is amazing. I'm sure if you haven't seen her in a magazine or on Instagram or in the 10,000 other places that she's been, including on shows and on her own podcast, I am so delighted and grateful to have the amazing Laura Wasser. Yay!
Hey, Bella.
It's so good to have you. And for those of you who have been hiding under a rock and you don't know who she is, let me just give you a couple of snippets about my friend here, who is beautiful. If you haven't seen her, Laura Wasser is an author, entrepreneur, and family law expert. She is the senior partner at the law firm Wasser, Cooperman, Mandles, the founder and CEO of It's Over Easy, the online divorce service. How cool is that? And one of the creators and the most giant fan of the Next Chapter collection of luxury candles, which are amazing and smell absolutely divine. Laura has represented celebrities like, wait for it, Kim Kardashian, Britney Spears, Dr. Dre, Kelly Clarkson, Jimmy Iovine, Maria Shriver, Stevie Wonder, and the list goes on and on and on. But our friend Laura maintains that divorce is the great equalizer. It terrifies everyone on earth. Laura's made it her mission to change that, and we're going to find out how. Welcome again to the Smart Dating Academy podcast, Laura.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh. Well, tell us, how do you do what you do? How did you become you? Did you dream about becoming a divorce attorney when you were a teenager? And then how did you get to where you are today with all of these amazing accomplishments?
I did not dream of becoming a divorce attorney. I didn't even dream of becoming an attorney. My parents named me Laura Allison Wasser, and my initials spell law, because they got my dad's bar results from the California bar, which is the test you have to take to become a lawyer. And then they celebrated, and I was conceived. And so I came out being law. And for years I fought it. I was like, I'm not going to be a lawyer. That's so boring. I don't want to do that. And my father was actually a family law attorney, a divorce lawyer. And I certainly was never going to be that kind of a lawyer. And then I got married very briefly in 1993, very briefly. And as I was waiting for my bar results after I finished law school, we quickly realized that we were probably too young to have gotten married, and this wasn't the greatest fit. And so after about 14 months, we got divorced, and it was my first case that I actually handled on my own. And because I needed money, since we were now having to move out of the place we'd rented and had car payments, I said to my dad, can I come work for you just for a little bit? He said, yes. And I never left. And then I kind of took over the firm, and I really like doing this kind of law because I'm sure, as you will see, but on a different end of it, it's all about human nature and human relationships and how people deal with communication and feelings, and obviously the end of relationships as opposed to the beginning of relationships, but the beginning of a new kind of relationship with the person to whom you were married or had a child with. So I really like it because it's problem solving, and it's very interesting for me as a student of human nature.
Yeah. And like you said, I love all of that. And you're helping people to end something, but begin a new phase of their relationship, and hopefully a better way, because divorce is never fun.
No, it's not fun. And hence Next Chapter collection, which is really talking about the next chapter of your life, and these candles that smell good and you buy for a friend, or you light while you're getting ready to go on that next date. Because I feel like having practiced family law for so many years, part of this journey that you go through with people is you see them at the beginning at kind of a really uncertain and scary time, particularly in this day and age, uncertain, and then kind of see them to the end of it. And as they're kind of being rebirthed into the world and starting on their next chapters, it really is cool to see. And having nothing to do with legal career, I have actually had many conversations with many clients about, how do I date now? Like, I haven't been with anybody since I had a C-section with my husband, and it's so different now because of online. And, sometimes I can give them some words of wisdom, but for the most part, I would just send them to Bela, like, figure that out there. But it really is an opportunity to kind of represent yourself, not only to whomever's sitting across from you at the table, but to yourself, and feel good about yourself in this next chapter. So that's one of the reasons I love what I do, is kind of seeing it through to the end and then kind of just watching my baby birds fly away into their next chapter.
Yeah. People ask me all the time, similar to you, how do I know that I'm ready to date after divorce? And, once you feel like you've gotten as much closure as you can get, right? You've healed as much as you can. I think for most people, it's crazy to say, I'm healed. I'm no longer angry or pissed or whatever it is. It's just, okay, have you closed that chapter and you feel like you've invested in you? Have you fallen in love with yourself a little bit? You've gotten back to the things that make you happy, that you love to do. And the thought of dating puts a little bit of a spring in your step. And I'll tell you what, Laura and I were having a little bit of a discussion about online dating and how it might feel like human eBay to some extent, but getting yourself comfortable with online dating and meeting people in real life and getting set up, right? And how to navigate those things, because if you don't do that soul searching work, chances are what we do is we do another round of ending up with the same person again. It's like right. Same dude, different face, year over year, decade over decade. Instead, take that time to sit down when you enter your next chapter.
Yeah.
And say, who do I want to be with for the next 30, 40, 50, 70 years of my life? How do I want to feel when I'm with this person? And don't date until you've done that inside work, because if not, you might come right back to the Wasser law firm all over again.
Exactly.
Well, you hosted a show called Divorce Sucks, and I love the name of that title. Why do you think divorce sucks? And for those of us, maybe you're out there listening to this show after you've gotten divorced once or twice or three times, but from your experience, both personally and professionally, why does divorce suck so badly?
I think part of the reason it sucks is because it's scary. So many people that I meet with, they may be the most wealthy, educated, sophisticated, and they'll say, oh, I'm really sorry, I just don't know anything about divorce. And I think, well, why would you? Like, you don't usually go into a marriage thinking you're going to get divorced. And so it's very scary, because not only are you dealing with something that's super emotional and often on some level sad. Nobody's thrilled to be ending a marriage. But it's also a legally complicated process, which promotes fear in terms of, are my kids going to be okay? Am I going to be okay when my kids aren't at my house? I love putting them to bed every night, and I love hearing them wake up every morning. Am I going to be able to pay my mortgage or my rent? What am I going to do for some kind of an infusion of income? I don't know. And how am I going to be able to pay for all of the things that I have? And how am I going to continue to live in the lifestyle that I live? So it's really scary. And it's also a little bit sad, because the person that at some point you must have said, till death do us part, is now no longer by your side. And so you're kind of in it on your own, and you're depending on people that you have to pay usually an hourly fee to be your advocate, which is kind of scary if you think about the fact that those people are getting paid for your conflict. So the more conflict there is for you, the more money we make. And so it's kind of a daunting situation, which, for lack of a better or more legally sophisticated word, sucks.
It sucks. And do you find for people as they get into the divorce process, it sucks even more? Like, they may have come in okay, ready to split, and then they just go bananas mid-divorce? Or what causes people to go so crazy during divorce?
I actually think people are going crazy a little bit less than they were. I think people are kind of doing some educating of themselves beforehand. Sometimes I'll say it may get worse before it gets better, but sometimes taking that first step and beginning the learning process and feeling like you're actually becoming the master of your own destiny and doing something feels really good for people. Sometimes there's a little bit of a peak where it gets really ugly, like when everybody lawyers up and, okay, what are we going to do? But then usually what happens is it calms down. I'd say 85 to 90% of our cases settle. Okay. And then most people, then the dust settles even more and they're able to have kind of a good, whether it's co-parenting or if they've owned a business together, then it's actually okay. So it's that first bit that's the scariest. And I'll also say this, another reason why divorce sucks and another reason why I think things are changing a little bit is because for so many years, divorce was so taboo. It was a failure and it was horrible. And although even today in 2022, nobody wants to get divorced, the fact is the statistics show that half of marriages, not half of people, but half of marriages end in divorce. And that statistic grows. If it's your second marriage, it's more likely to end in divorce. So that's what kind of rounds out that bell curve of half marriages ending in divorce. If that's happening this much, we must have to figure out a better way of approaching it. And so I think it may suck a little less now that we are normalizing it for people, now that we have better methods to deal with it. That's what I call the evolution of dissolution, not making it such a taboo, having people kind of learn about it if they can online. We have all kinds of workshops and webinars and seminars that people can take. So it's not so daunting and so scary, so that you can go into it. You can deal with the emotional aspects of a relationship ending and then deal with the legal and financial aspects separately. So you really handle your divorce more like a business transaction. And like I said, there's so many things that we have available to us in this day and age that our parents or their parents didn't have, that I think it makes it suck a little bit less. And people come to the table without necessarily being so crazy, because they do realize, maybe just because I've been saying it for 27 years, the more you argue, the more money the lawyers make.
Oh, amen, amen, amen. And I love this. And I read this about you. One of your favorite sayings is, and she lived happily ever after on her own. Do you believe in love the second time around, or the third time, or the fourth time around?
Oh, totally. First of all, I'm a serial monogamist. I believe in love. I love being in love. I love falling in love. I really do believe every time you fall in love, you're falling a little bit in love with yourself as well again. Yeah. And of course I do, at any age or stage. I mean, it's so crazy. We've had clients come in that are in their 80s. And I kind of think, like, one of the younger associates said the other day, like, why bother? And I'm like, what? She's just going to wait for him to die? Like, every day needs to be lived till it's to its fullest. And if you've hit a point, again, I'm a big fan of couples counseling and, weekend retreats to do whatever work needs to be done on the relationship. But if it really isn't working, get out and move on, because yes, love the second, third, fourth time around. It's there. That's the human condition. We want to love and be loved.
100%. We're wired to love and be loved. And I love what you said. You said something earlier about before, let's say you've had love now, the second or third or fourth time around at any age, and you help people to put something together for you. I'm sure you've heard of this, called a prenup, a prenuptial agreement, kind of hammering out, I've got this, you've got that, before you get married, and putting together these legal documents. And you said having conversations about what's going to go into the prenup can lead to a better relationship. Tell me more about that, because I agree with you 100%.
I feel like, I get asked often to speak with, women's groups, particularly because a lot of women are very uncomfortable around the subject of money. And I've also been asked to represent young women, but men as well, that are, the breadwinners. If they're a singer, entertainer, actor, they their business team brings me in to say, we know you're madly in love and that's wonderful, but how about a prenup? And listen to this woman, since we're all making a percentage of what you earn and you're going to be pissed at us, listen to her, you'll never see her again, tell you why. And so kind of as like a big sister figure, I'll explain that, again, having a sense of financial literacy is important to all people. But in terms of the prenuptial agreement, if you are able to communicate not only just financial issues, but expectations, have the conversations, even if both of you have nothing, have conversations that are not super comfortable or sexy about what each of you feels will be important during the marriage and what the responsibilities will be during the marriage and who has what. Can you imagine getting married to somebody and he or she has a great deal of debt and you didn't know about it? And so now every month, part of the paycheck that's coming in is going to pay that debt. You want to know what they have and what they owe and what they earn and maybe what they spend and what they save for. Hey, what do you think? I want to make sure we have enough money to go on a nice vacation every year. Oh no, I'm saving so that we can, buy a house. And what about kids? And my parents are elderly. And when they need it, I would like them to be able to come live with us as opposed to putting them in assisted living. How do you feel with that? That's not all stuff that's going to go into a prenup, Bella, but that's all stuff that should be discussed. And again, not super sexy or romantic, but the level of comfort that you want to have with somebody that you're going to get married to. I say this to people all the time. If he's going to be in the delivery room with you while you're pushing out a baby, this is way more comfortable than that scenario. So let's have those conversations now. And although I don't have the same great statistics that you have over 12 years of not having any people that you've set up getting divorced, I will say that the prenuptial agreements we do, even while we're negotiating them, can get a little bit dicey. Very few of those people come back and get divorced because the discomfort happens at the front end and the expectations are very clear going in.
Absolutely. And that dovetails in your philosophy so well with what we have our daters do. So often, people will come to me after having been in a relationship for 3 years and maybe they've lived together. And finally, I didn't know he didn't want to get married. I'm like, how did you not know that? Right. And so having these conversations in the dating process, we are having people, even to some extent, before you get exclusive with somebody. Now, in the smart dating house rules, we're saying no exclusivity with someone until 3 to 4 months of slow dating, 15 to 20 dates. So we have graphs and we're very nerdy on what a good trajectory should look like. But in that time, asking those questions, what do you value? How do you spend your money? How do you save your money? Ask these things up front. Where do you want to live? When would you like to retire? How do you want to retire? People are so scared to ask these questions because it's like, oh my gosh, am I too extra? Am I going to be too much? No, you love yourself enough to say, this is what I want. And I don't want to settle for someone who doesn't want the same things that I want.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
One of the dating term of 2022 is called hardballing. And I know that sounds a little like, what? Hardballing? But it's kind of say what you mean what you say. By the third or fourth date, don't hem and haw. If you are looking for a relationship that is exclusive, serious, maybe leads to marriage, to kids, say that up front. Don't waste your time anymore.
Right. I think that's really smart. Hardballing. I like it.
Hardballing. So let me, I read off the names of, many famous A-list people. And I know, the details of those things are super confidential because we deal with people that are also in the public eye that we put online, believe it or not, with dating. But do you see any differences, Laura, in the way, we all kind of fantasize about celebrities, how they get married or how they get divorces? Like, what are the biggest differences, if any, between how they are versus the rest of us on the ground?
Media. It really is media. The fact, again, I would imagine that people want their weddings and their happiness and everything else to be publicized. And there's certainly ways of getting that out there if they're celebrities. They don't necessarily feel that way about their breakups. And so while folks like Gwyneth and Chris and Ben and Jen and Justin have been great, I'm saying this like I know them, I don't, but have been great about giving us catchphrases like conscious uncoupling or gentle separation, it actually has helped trickle down to us common folk, because if the famous people that we all look up to so much are doing it in a better and more civilized and respectful manner, hey, we can do that too. Also, I feel like there's like a certain level of schadenfreude, and that's why the moment a divorce gets filed, TMZ and Radar and E! Entertainment all pick it up. We like seeing our celebrities not only get married and have babies and do wonderful things, but we like seeing that they fail just like we do as well. And so being able to see that and then see how they do it is different. That being said, if you're filing documents that may say, I'm concerned about this person's drinking or marijuana smoking because of our kids, or this person was abusive or whatever else, that's also going to get picked up very quickly. So celebrities have to be very careful about what gets filed, because they're treated just like everyone else by our court systems. And so a lot of times they will be a little bit more ready to mediate out of the public eye, settle differences between themselves, as opposed to a bunch of public mudslinging. So that is actually an advantage to representing celebrities, because they have a vested interest in keeping things quiet. They don't want their kid at the market looking at the newsstand with a ugly thing splashed across it.
Yeah.
And I would also say, more money, more problems to a certain extent. If you are super wealthy or famous, I think that there are a lot of other things that can become problems, not as big of a problem as having to sleep in your car, but certainly problematic. And so there's differences there. But as you said earlier, it really is the great equalizer. Whether you're worried about who you're going to walk the red carpet with, or what they're going to say about you on the cover of Us magazine, or you're worried who you're going to go to the company picnic party with, or who the local gossip is going to be talking about in the supermarket line, those are still concerns. And it does make us feel scared and afraid and lonely. And that's why whoever it is that's going through this needs to find a really good support group, whether it's friends or family, or a group that you don't even know, if it's just a local kind of, community, if it's a group therapy or something at the local college. You're not alone. And I think that divorce can be isolating. Make sure you find your people as you're going through this.
100%. And like you said earlier, if you're talking about 20, 30, 40 years ago, really, there was so little to support us. Today, you have services like the things that Laura's doing with It's Over Easy, with the candles. You have date coaches. People would have looked at me sideways, like, what do you do? They kind of sometimes still do, like, a dating coach. Is that really a job? I'm like, it's really a job to help people navigate in the weeds, especially with online dating, and looking at, is this a good person? Is this a real person? Is this a red flag or a green flag? And to your point about celebrities and the magnification of what happens with them going through divorce, I know many times we get them after they're at the end of the divorce tunnel, just like we get regular people that, want to get out there and date again, but they have the same fears, and sometimes greater fears, of being like, wait a second, aren't you so-and-so, when they get online? And I've had clients that you and I would know walking down the street that will put themselves on a dating app, and they get blocked from an app, they get thrown off the app, or they get really dubious people going, you're a catfisher, aren't you? Because you look just like blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, wait, I am blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
I mean, I know Sharon Stone, who was not our client, was very famously tossed off of Bumble last year. She's like, but wait, I am the real Sharon Stone. So if you're listening to this thinking, okay, I'm out of divorce, I'd really not like to do online dating, what I will tell you is dating like divorce is the great equalizer. When you're out there and you're maybe saying, okay, my setup pipeline has dried up. A lot of my friends, even though I'm high profile, are like, yeah, I really don't know anybody good to fix you up with. People are going online, and it's okay to be online, and it's fun. And 30 to 40% of marriages today that take place happen because of connections that we make online.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is. But it doesn't, particularly post-pandemic or during pandemic, it does not surprise me. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think we will probably in some ways never go back to where we were before, simply because of what we've all lived through in the past couple of years.
Absolutely. 100%. And I think people are so much more comfortable. We had people fall in love with each other doing Zoom dating for a year, for 4 months during quarantine, because they couldn't see each other. And then they got to know each other at such a granular level. Like, Michael, would it bother you if I ate my last meal at 3 p.m.? I'm like, wow, like, more about each other than ostensibly people putting together prenups. I'm joking.
Right.
But it kind of went back to wartime, like writing amazing letters to each other and having to communicate through video. So yeah, there's a lot of great stories that happened out of quarantine. So, are you willing to tell us, Laura, are you single? Are you dating anyone? Like, kind of tell us where you are, because you're gorgeous and super relatable and, someone we all look up to.
Oh gosh. Well, yeah, I say this to clients all the time. They're like, well, what would you do? And I'm like, don't ask me. I'm a hot mess, single mother of 2. I'm single right now. And I like kind of being single, but I definitely like dating and meeting new people. And I'm pretty much a serial monogamous. I don't know if you're going to want to hear this, Bella, but I'm not sure that I believe that human beings were meant to mate for life. So that's why I particularly believe in love a second or third time around. And I feel like, I'm not just out there, dating everybody, but I definitely feel like, I love a great experience. I love, like I said, I'm curious about the world. I love meeting new people. I love getting to know people. And actually in my profession, I get to know people pretty well. They don't always get to know me super well because they're not paying me to get to know me. They're paying me to get to know them and solve their problems. So it is kind of nice to be out with somebody and, over a piece of salmon and a glass of wine, discuss what's interesting to me and what makes me happy and what I like to do. So that's fun. And like I said, you really do kind of get to recreate yourself as you meet new people, whether it be online or at a party, if we're ever allowed to go to parties again, or, at a function, school functions. I find that there's a lot of different interesting people out there to meet, whether it's somebody that's to date or just to become friendly with.
Absolutely. I love that. And I love that you love to date. And I love that where you stand on this, right? Like, I don't believe people are meant to mate for life. And you may fall in love 2, 4, 8, 10 times during the duration of your life. And that's fine. And as long as you know that and the person you're with knows that, I think it's amazing. I love clarity and transparency and where we match on those things. So do you have any kind of must-haves for a person that you're going to be with?
Funny. They have to be funny. They have to have a sense of humor, and they have to not take themselves too seriously. Going just back to one point, I definitely and I say this to people a lot, better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Getting out there and having the relationship, I think, is the main thing, as opposed to worrying about how it's going to end or if it's going to end or am I going to get hurt. So I think that's really important. And I kind of, at this point, put that out there as well in terms of clarity. Like, I can't promise you that I'm going to be the perfect mate, wife, whatever. The other thing I want to say is there are some people who probably were meant to mate for life, and God bless them. I think that's great. I just don't think that that's the norm, frankly. I think the norm is you got to have a couple tries and figure it out, and you grow and you change. And if you're lucky enough to be somebody that meets somebody and grows and changes and evolves with them, great. But many of us end up going and changing in different directions, which is okay.
No, and I think that there's a lot of value to that. People will ask me, how many of your clients end up getting married? I'm like, probably half of them that meet somebody get married, but the other half live together as if, I always say, we're looking for the lid to our pots, right? And it's no less serious or real should you not decide to go through a 30-minute church ceremony or whatever it is you want to do. So I think finding the lid to your pot is so important. Whether you choose to get married or not, it really has virtually no impact. And people have argued, and I would love to hear your opinion on this as a family law expert, that sometimes when you are together to be together, let's say like Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell, and you don't have the concrete blocks or, on you about marriage, that you just kind of peacefully exist with each other because you don't have the fear of what if. It's, well, if it doesn't work out, here's my suitcase, here's your suitcase.
Well, okay. But that being said, I don't feel, particularly in that relationship, that like either of them has one foot out the door. You have to really opt in. I think that for some people, having that piece of paper, that marriage certificate, that level of security, so to speak, is super important. But as I said before, if half marriages are ending in divorce, how comfortable do you really feel? And so I think, people will come to me and they've said, we've been living together for 10 years. We've kind of commingled our money and it's really important to him or her that now we get married. And I said, well, is it important to you? No, but it's important to me that my significant other is happy. So we explore that. Part of me says, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. Both of my sons are from relationships with men to whom I wasn't married, but we lived together and we were very, very monogamous partners, whatever. I will tell you from personal experiences, it's not easier to end that kind of a relationship if you're not married than it would be if you were married. You still have to divide stuff up. You still go through the heartbreak. There's still legal, especially if you have kids. So it cuts both ways. The security of being married isn't always so super secure. And the freedom of not having those blocks on you, again, you have to define what it means to you in your narrative of what marriage means. But that's not always the thing that makes you feel so super free and easy in a relationship.
Yes, you're so right. And that's a great that's a great perspective for me to look at as well. It's okay if you don't have the, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily so clean, cut and dry where you take your suitcase and I take my suitcase and we're done. There's more potential things to disentangle.
Yes. Totally. And again, is it easier because you don't have to go through the legal ramifications? Maybe sometimes. I've had marriages with people that were so not commingled that it was just super easy divorce. And then I've had breakups with people that had been cohabiting for years, never got married, and super difficult. So it really does depend on the relationship and how it all works. And again, what you bring to the relationship in terms of your past and your feelings about marriage and commitment and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's amazing. And, I love this question. What do freshly signed divorce papers actually smell like, Laura Wasser? Tell us.
So it was really funny because when Johnny, whose candle company this is, and he brought a bunch over and we were smelling them, we were coming up with the names for them. So this one apparently, look, to me, it just smells really good, but it smells like earth, wood, spice, woodsy and sweet, pine, balsam, and blossoms.
Fresh. It sounds really fresh.
And again, what I like about it is, and there's a bunch. I mean, the names of them are great. There's freshly signed divorce papers, but there's one called grudge fuck, which is what your people, before they come to you, Bella, and are ready to get out there again, they should light that. But and she lived happily ever after alone. There's gratitude. There's one that's called smells like a millennial prenup. What I like about them is, they're for your home. You have them in the background, but as you're going up to your bathroom to blow dry and apply your makeup and get dressed, maybe with your glass of wine. I mean, sometimes I'm sure you would agree, the best part of the date is getting ready for the date. You've 100%. Got your music on. Maybe your kids are at your ex's for the first time, the first weekend you're on your own. It almost doesn't even matter where you're going or whom with. It's the getting ready and that whole, everything that you do to get ready and the excitement and the hopefulness. You light your candle, smells like freshly signed divorce papers. You have your music on, you have your glass of wine, you're getting ready. And that is what this next chapter journey, how it begins and what it's about. And we just love that idea.
I love that so much. So we have something, when our clients start up with us at Smart Dating Academy, we have them like they know who they're looking for. They know the red flags. But one of the most important things, to your point, that we do is we have them come up with what we call a dating ritual, because so many people think you can go straight from the date, have your, lovely Prada suit and your gorgeous red bottom heels and go straight from work to date. But what you're not doing is sort of taking the stench of your work day off of you. And especially for all of us, men and women, we're multifaceted, kind of putting, instead of CEO facet forward, kind of spinning it to put the facet of you that's like fun, cool date. And how do you get to being the fun, cool date versus the ironclad divorce attorney or dating coach or surgeon or lawyer or whatever you are? And lighting a candle is something I think is a great addition to our clients' dating ritual. One of my things for women, especially, we talk about something called the berry lip. And so we have all of our clients to symbolize, it's like, okay, I'm going on a date. You pop your lip color, because a lot of the science shows that men. What are you going to show us your lipstick? I love this.
Berry lip. I realize that maybe it's not quite popping enough yet. Hold on.
On the Zoom call right now,
Here it
Laura
is.
Wasser.
Okay. I'm ready. Where are you? Come pick me up.
Come pick me up. Put on your berry lip, because reds, pinks, men will always say, no, I want someone that looks really natural, that looks great in a t-shirt and cut off jeans. But what do they look at?
The lip.
The lip, popped lip. So reds and pinks. So we often, when we do dating photo shoots in our studio in Chicago for people that are out of divorce or maybe just coming back into it after a bad breakup, you come in to do a photo shoot because it's super fun and it's like adorable, and you're doing 5 or 6
outfits. Beautiful.
You feel beautiful. And what's lovely is sometimes we don't do things for ourselves and invest in ourselves. And one of the things everybody laughs at in our photo shoot, I'm like, pop that lip, but I wear a nude lip. I'm like, not today.
Not this one.
This is our photo shoot. So you're going to pop this lip, and they always love the color. So I'm glad that you're a proponent of the berry lip in the dating routine, and having a great playlist, you guys, is so important. What's on your dating playlist when you're getting ready? Like, what
I don't have a playlist. I have different stations. So I think when I'm getting ready, I probably usually listen to the Led Zeppelin station.
I love it.
Or depending on which date it is, I actually like also the Joni Mitchell station.
Oh,
that's
two great ones. Right. Yeah. I'm thinking of when the levee breaks. I can think of good Zeppelin tunes that are great. This is my stairway to heaven right now with my berry lip, with my berry lip. When I'm getting ready to go on a date with my husband, I need to have a dating playlist, because I do my fun run from Spotify, right? Because I like to run. So it's like, okay, let's do the fun run dating list. So Laura, you're amazing. Any last bits of Laura Wasser gems that you can leave with the listener to make them better, to make them more prepared as they think about dating or getting better in their relationships?
I would definitely say, on this finger, I have a ring and it says carpe diem. Okay. And so my 2 big sayings are, this too shall pass. As you're going through the divorce, we're going to get through this. This is going to pass. And then carpe diem. So this too shall pass. Hopefully by the time they're coming to you, Bella, and they're dating and they're getting back out there for the next chapter, it's past. And now we're in the carpe diem. Seize the day, enjoy the moment, take every dating experience for what it's worth. This may not be the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, but what can you take from this meal or hike or concert that will make you better and happier, and you'll take it into whatever the next relationship is and have that little bit of that day? Because as we have seen over the past couple of years, things can change in an instant. So my advice, for whatever it's worth, is seize the day, enjoy the moment, make the most of it for yourself and whomever you're with, and really be open to experiences, because that's what this is all about.
I love that so much. And one of the things we tell our clients that's so in alignment with that is I get to go on this date, not I have to. So if you can take today and say, instead of every time you find yourself saying, I have to, change that and say, I get to. I have two teenagers. I'm like, you get to go to school. You don't have to go to school. You get to go to school. Your education is a privilege. Getting to go on the date means you get to hear someone else's story.
Right.
And that story can make you better if you let it.
Totally agree. Love it.
Thank you so much for being here. What a treasure. And I know how busy you are. So thank you for bequeathing your knowledge and your gems onto me and to you, dear listener. So thank you so much. And I hope you will come back to us.
I will come back. Enjoy your candle. If your listeners want to get candles, they can come to Next Chapter Collection, and also check us out on itsovereasy.com or Laura Wasser Official. All of those places we are available, and hopefully you will come find us. And yes, I'll definitely come back. I'd love to.
You know what? And we'll put a link to the Next Chapter candles in the show notes so you guys can all buy the grudge, fuck, or gratitude. I just wanted to say that. All right.
It smells really good too. It doesn't smell like what you think it smells like.
No, it's very pleasant because it ends up feeling very pleasant.
Yes, right? Exactly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you again for
Bella,
being here.
Of course.